Welcome to the Kingsford Flitter Flash. I'm Coach Van Dusen. This is Season 20, Episode 28, A Coach's Corner. Sit down with Coach Jim Myllyla. So this is another neat episode of the Kingsford Flitter Flash where we get to sit down with Jim Myllyla. Now, if you went to Kingsford anytime in the 90s or the 2000s, you've had Jim Myllyla as either a physical education teacher or possibly as a coach, either basketball, golf, or football. Personally, I had him as a JV basketball coach, and I was able to coach with him for freshman football. Jim is a 1985 graduate of Escanaba High School, where he played quarterback, basketball, and golf. He received a scholarship to go play golf at Glen Oaks College, and then transferred to Northern Michigan University and received his bachelor's degree in 1989. He has coached basketball, football, golf, and also AAU basketball. He has been at Brighting Township Schools for almost 30 years. And the second part of this, why this is such a neat episode, not just because we have Jim on, is it's our first in-person interview. You're going to see it's a little shaky with the background. We tried something a little different. We were having some issues with the computer, so we set it up in my room here. And we set the chairs up so we are 6 feet apart, practicing social distancing, and we're not facing each other. But you're going to see the background is a little shaky, and you can, it kind of comes in and out. But we'll figure that out as we go along. So if you stick around till the end, I'm also going to cover some of the playoff picture. You probably already know, if you're watching, that Kingsford's game against Menominee has been canceled this week, so we will not be playing our GNC rival Menominee this week. And we're still waiting on word to see if we can go play our first playoff game, but I'll cover that a little bit later. So before we do that, let's have a talk with Coach Jim Myllyla. Well, thanks for coming on today, Jim.
You're welcome.
So tell us a little bit about your high school career as a football player and any other sports you played, where you went.
All right, well, went to Escanaba High School, graduated in 1985. I played football 4 years there. I was quarterback for the last 2 years on varsity. Played basketball 4 years and also golf for 4 years.
And then you went to Northern, is that true?
So I got a golf scholarship my first year. Went down to Glen Oaks College down by Sturgis, Michigan, and then transferred from there to Northern and got my teaching degree from Northern.
And then after you left college, where did you get your first teaching job, and what did you do?
So I was at Gladstone for about 3/4 of the year, filling in for somebody. And then my first full-time teaching job was at Kingsford in 1991.
And what did you start out teaching?
So I was hired as a FIAD teacher. I was down at Woodland Elementary for a little bit, and then most of the time was up in the middle school. So been up here for 30 years.
30 years, that's impressive. So tell us a little bit about coaching. I believe you coached at Gladstone, and then when you came here to Kingsford?
Yeah, so I was student taught at Gladstone. Actually coached the tennis team there when I was there, and I helped with the football. And then the following year, I was on the varsity staff at Gladstone. And then when I came to Kingsford, I became the football, golf, and 8th grade basketball when I first started. And then coached football for quite a few years. And then when I had my second child, I took a little break and then got back in here in the last 5 years, finishing up there. Been doing golf for 30 years here. Oh, this will be my 30th year this spring. Hopefully we have it. And basketball for a lot. Took a little break at one point, but.
So, and when you coached, were all those programs sub-varsity that you coached, or were you on the varsity at all?
Yeah, no, I was JV basketball for 25 years probably, and varsity golf.
But you worked really closely with the varsity coaches.
Oh yeah, all the time. Yeah.
So tell us one of your favorite coaching memories past 30 years, either basketball, golf, or football.
I just think that I was lucky enough to coach with a lot of great kids, but probably my most enjoyable was coaching my son at the end. So
And you got that last year as a freshman and this year
Yep.
as a sophomore.
Yep. So I had my final year of teaching and coaching this year. I coached my kid in my last game, so it was kind of exciting.
That's awesome. How about a funny coaching memory? I know you probably have a lot to draw from over 30 years of being on the field and on the court.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many kids forgetting stuff. You know that as a freshman coach, they put their thigh pads in their knee pads. I mean, there's so many different things. I don't know if I can pull out one right now. That's the thing. It's fun. It was a lot of fun.
And those of you not familiar, Coach Mills and I coached together at the freshman level where he coached for many years on football. And then this year I took over as head coach, and, we go up to Marquette and we forgot our knee pads. We forgot our belts. We forgot where we put our helmets. So all kinds of just freshman things that happen. Now you coached freshmen for many years. What were some differences between freshmen and then this year coaching junior varsity?
Oh, it's way different. First of all, most of the time you don't have to remind them about all that stuff that you just mentioned. And then just the knowledge of our offense, so they come in already knowing what to do. So offensively, you can get into some different formations really quick instead of doing the same play over and over and over and over and over for weeks, which it's a lot more fun in practice because you can add a lot more, but then it also gives you a lot more going into the games,
And I know at the first week we had talked, we only had 2 formations in with our tight end on one side. We weren't prepared to flip them, and you had shotgun stuff in already and motions and all kinds of things. So with you leaving, and I know Coach Murdoch left, Coach Hofer left, I know Coach Harry is soon out the door. There's going to be a lot of young coaches coming into Kingsford. And what's some advice you would give young coaches who maybe it's their first year teaching, or maybe they've taught a few years and they finally made it back home to Kingsford, but what's some advice you could give those young guys?
Well, hopefully we get more young people interested in doing this because it's very rewarding. But they also have to know that, it's a big commitment. I think a lot of kids nowadays, they look at, well, I could have August off and now I'm over at the field house all summer. But there's so many good memories that you get that are part of football that, I just hope that we get some young kids interested in coaching. And that's kind of a fear of mine, is that we're lacking that right now.
And I look at, you and Coach Harry and Murdoch and Hofer, and you all started when you were young. And 30 years later, you're just as passionate about the game and you're still learning just as much as you were year one. Obviously, the experience has some help. What about young athletes? You've taught middle school for many years, and those 8th graders, I know we have them here, and I talk up football all the time, but what's some advice you'd have to young athletes maybe just starting their high school career?
I think that for whatever reason, the kids in 8th and 9th grade don't realize the ability they have, and with our weight room, how nice it is over there, how much they could improve in a very short time. And I think that it's hard because for whatever reason, it seems like they don't get into that until 10th grade, 11th grade, and then all of a sudden they realize that, they could, a lot of times kids are smaller, they don't develop at the same age, and they don't want to play football because they didn't play it when they're younger. And, I just think that if they really wanted to, they can play, they can not only be on a team, but they can make an impact,
Yeah, that's something I've noticed with talking with parents and students. They say, well, I never played youth football, so I don't think I'm going to play in high school. And, you look at this year, and on the freshman team, we had 2 players going both ways who had never played football before. One ended up being the quarterback. So it's not I think it's a fallacy to think that if you don't play in middle school, you can't play in high school.
Yeah, that's 100% true. I mean, my son played 1 year, 5th grade youth football, and that was it. And I don't think he's behind at all. As long as you are active and I think kids need to get out throwing the football and catching the football and just doing stuff, eye-hand coordination things, and stay in shape. That's the biggest thing.
Right. Stay in shape and don't live on the couch in the summertime.
Yeah.
So what are your plans after you leave? You're going to leave teaching and leave coaching here. I mean, for 30 years, that's kind of been your August, September, and October. So what are you going to use those 3 months for now?
I'm not sure. I have some other opportunities outside of teaching when I get done, but I do want to climb up a tree and get in the woods more often than I've been able to. It's hard with coaching, and that's some of the things you give up, and people don't. Sometimes they have a hard time putting those two things together. But you just got to manage your time.
And that is something I struggle with because I love bow hunting. And the peak bow season is usually about week 7 of football season, and you're in that grind and whatnot. But so, well, best of luck to you as you move on from teaching and coaching. And I always have you on speed dial. You've been a great mentor to me. So thanks for coming on.
You're welcome.
Well, that was Coach Jim Myllyla, and after many, many years here at Kingsford, we're going to miss him, and we wish him the best of luck. So the second part of this podcast, as we go on, we're going to talk about the playoff picture and how it looks. And I mentioned before, but our game against Menominee got canceled this week. So I'm going to share my screen, and we'll just go through kind of what the playoffs are looking like as they stand right now. As you've noticed, our podcast has been a day late the last 2 weeks just because of all the changes. But let's get right into it. We're going to start off with Division 3, and we see Marquette sitting at the number 3 seed. And as it stands today, they would be hosting Muskegon's Rathpufford at the number 6 seed. And you can see it's a pretty tough district with Mount Pleasant and Cedar Springs and Muskegon and Marquette. So best of luck to Marquette. In Division 4, we have a big arrow here highlighting because as of right now, Escanaba would be traveling to Sault Ste. Marie for 2 Upper Peninsula football programs in Division 4, Region 1, District 1. So again, if a lot of things could change, but as of right now, that's what that game would look like. And with Escanaba, it's a little tough to judge because it says 0-2 in there, but they've only had 1 football game. They got the first loss by forfeiting to us due to COVID issues, and then their second loss came with a pretty good game against Marquette. So best of luck to the Eskimos. Hopefully they get to travel to Sault Ste. Marie, and good luck to Sault Ste. Marie as well. We used to play Sault Ste. Marie. There was a 2 or 3 year period there. Pretty good football games, and maybe we can play them again sometime. So going into Division 5, Kingsford is now sitting at the 3 seed, which is really important that we stay in the top 4 for hosting probability. So right now, Standish Sterling would be traveling across the bridge to Kingsford as it sits. Some other teams to keep your eye on here. First off, Reed City, mainly just because they're sitting at 5-0. Kingsley sitting at 5-0. Those are some tough football teams. And Hancock sitting at 1-3. However, they are in our division, so there could be the potential that we end up playing them at some point down the road in the playoffs. So best of luck to Hancock, unless you come to Kingsford. Looking at Division 6, a bunch of Flivver foes in here. We currently, as it sits, Menominee would be traveling to Negaunee to play. Division 6, Region 1, District 1. Gladstone would be hosting Bessemer. And Calumet would be traveling just down the road, not too far, about 12 or 15 miles down the road to Houghton. So some UP matchups in Division 6. Another one to note is Westwood, sitting at the 1 seed, would get a first round bye. So you don't see that in the playoffs very often. So looking at Division 7, my old stomping grounds of Lance are sitting at the 5 seed. So they would be traveling to Mansalona. I'm not sure what their schedules are, but they're both sitting at 2-3. So this week, a win on either program could flip those two, especially with the points being so close, and Barcelona could be traveling to Lance. Some other teams to note here, Charlevoix, just because they're sitting at 5-0. Whenever you have an undefeated team, that's worth looking at. And also Manistee, another UP team. They'd be traveling to Traverse City St. Francis. Now in Division 8, a bunch of UP teams here. We have Iron Mountain sitting at 4-1. They'd be hosting Norway just a few miles down the road. It's kind of nice to see that. Bark River Harris would be hosting Rogers City. West Iron County would be hosting another UP team, St. Ignace. And Gwen would be traveling to East Jordan. Gwen sitting with 2 wins on the season. So best of luck to those UP teams, including that team across the other side of Woodward Avenue. Looking at 8-man football, we have the number 1 seed, Pellston in Region 1, District 1, just on the other side of the bridge, sitting at 5-0. Also, Indian River, Indian Lake sitting at 5-0, would be hosting Ontonagon. We have Stevenson in that mix, along with Munising. I believe this is their first year as 8-man football, and Newberry. Looking at Division 2, a lot of UP teams there. We have Powers North Central sitting at 5-0. They would be hosting Posen, again, just the other side of the Mackinac Bridge. Then you have Crystal Falls and Rudyard, Cedarville, and Kearney Nadeau, and then Lakeland and Hubble traveling to Rapid River to take on the Rockets. So that will do it for the playoff picture here around the UP. And that will also do it for this podcast. We want to thank everybody who tuned in, and we ask that you go down in the show notes. Make sure you like and share on all of our social media pages, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We're also on YouTube. You can hit subscribe and ring the notification bell, so you're always in the loop when a new episode drops, which typically happens on Tuesdays, but we've been a day behind the last few weeks, but still trying to push out the best content we can. So until next time, this is Coach Van Dusen. Invest in tomorrow by owning.